All right. Hello, Colony families. We are so excited to have you joining us for our February, it's still February, podcast. But although you might be listening to this and it might already be March, because man, time is flying by. I just want to take a moment to introduce ourselves in case you've forgotten us. I am Laura Norton. I am one of the counselors at Memorial Elementary.
Hi, I'm Anna Maya, one of the counselors at Peters Colony Elementary.
Hi, I'm Allison Bostic. I'm also one of the counselors at Peters Colony.
Hey guys, my name is Jasmine Moore. I'm the counselor at Morningside.
Hi, y'all. I'm Amber Olson, the counselor over at Etheridge Elementary.
Hi, I'm Beth McWilliams, and I am at Camey Elementary.
And not with us on the podcast today, we also have the fabulous Regina Kemp as our second counselor finishing out the year with us at Memorial, and she's been a huge help. So if you have not met her, I hope you get to meet her soon. We were just going to start with a little bit of spotlight on some of the guidance that we've been doing throughout the beginning of the year. We focused on gratitude and generosity, which, of course, gratitude, as we all know, is feeling and expressing thankfulness for things in life, and generosity, being kind and sharing what you have. And we really emphasize with the kids that it doesn't have to be just money, which is what usually comes to mind or is associated when you hear the word generosity, but it might be giving up time, giving up your iPad time to hang out with a friend or to help somebody else. So we're really trying to, because of the health benefits that go along with gratitude and generosity, to really focus on showing what we do have and highlighting what we do have, and rather than talking about what we don't have. The second step lessons, which the teachers do in the classrooms Monday and Tuesday mornings, they are focusing on kindness and empathy throughout the first couple months of the year. So it really goes hand in hand with gratitude and generosity and kind of pulls it all together with a nice big bow on top. Because as we mentioned, practicing gratitude can actually improve your mental health, put you in a better mood. It can help reduce stress, and I'm sure nobody listening to this has any stress. So it can help you get some better sleep and even have improved relationships. So there's really a lot of research on some of those things, and the gratitude can be a coping skill, and it's just all around can be a really good focus for our children to have. So does anyone want to share maybe a lesson that they did or something, maybe their kindness ambassadors? I know our kindness ambassadors did something. Miss Moore, do you want to highlight what yours did?
Oh yeah, so our kindness ambassadors across the board in the colony did a really great job. We had our service learning project in January, and every school was responsible for collecting something specific to benefit our Panther market located at Peters Colony. So, like you said, it's a great time of the year. We're in a new year to celebrate kindness, and we're also proud of our kiddos and our community. We're really grateful for everybody who participated. Morningside specifically was in charge of collecting boxes of cereal. And you guys, y'all really showed up and showed out for us. I think we ended up with about 305 boxes of cereal to serve the Panther Market, which benefits our local TC community. Any student in LISD, but specifically us over here in TC. So we're just so grateful for our servant-hearted kids that we get to work with every day, and so appreciative of our community that helps us teach those very important values of gratitude and helping others.
Yeah,
And Miss Moore, just in case everybody does not know what the Panther Market is, do you want to give us a little info about the Panther Market and how many families y'all have served?
Yes, we have an update. This is Miss Amaya over at Peters Colony, guys. So I ran some numbers right around February 14th, and I can tell you that we are open only once a week. Originally, we started with 2 or 3 times a month. I'm sorry, not a month, a week. We are down to only once a week. That's on Thursdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And I can tell you that we are happy to say that, let me find it down here. Sorry, guys. As of February 13th, again, since we've been open, we opened in mid-October. The pantry has operated 20 distribution days, and during this time, we have served 77 families and recorded a total of 251 sign-ins. And that is amazing because the pantry doesn't just serve Peters Colony, it serves our entire community. So it is truly a blessing to have this resource available for all of our families.
Well, that goes perfect with our gratitude because we are grateful that you guys do all that work and collect in the collecting of all the schools, and because it really we can see how the gratitude and generosity really is in action helping our families, especially in this world of instant gratification. We're used to, getting stuff right away. So for the kids to be able to share that with our kids and say, look, this is who you guys did the work to help out in the long term is really pretty neat. Let's see. Speaking of kindness, another kind thing was the Great Kindness Challenge. I know several schools participated in that. Peters Colony, you guys were? Did y'all do it?
Yes, we did the kindness challenge. And in fact, we had to push it out a week because of the ice storm. But students turned in their kindness challenge form. And you know what's exciting is the parents were giving feedback. And the parents were saying, hey, my child really worked at this, especially the littles. And when I asked a few, I actually did like a video interview with them. I said, was this easy or hard for you? And they said, this was hard. But this is good, right? It's good because we're teaching them a skill, which is empathy, right? And that's a learned skill that we'll have to use later in life. And that's what I tell the kids during guidance lessons. You guys, this is a skill set because at some point in life, you're going to have to work on a team at a job, right? Or whatever role that is, even if it's in your home or in your community, on your team, soccer, football, whatever it is that you do. You bringing forth your best self, and again, having empathy for others on your team goes back to everything that we're talking about: generosity, gratitude for one another. And so it all ties in really well. But yes, very proud of Little Panthers.
I know Memorial participated too, and I think we had probably about 50 or 75 kids, and they were so proud. And you're right, they was just cute. And it is interesting how it sounds so simple, just be kind. But when you really do get down to it, sometimes it's hard to be kind, especially when we want to kind of focus on, what we're doing in our lives and what we want to handle. And but like Anne Frank said, you can always give something, even if it's only kindness. Amber, you're up.
So I'd love to talk a little bit about our student wellness spotlight, which is responsible decision making. You know, for those of you who aren't familiar with kind of our guiding document, the Texas model really gives us direction and helps us to know what it is we're teaching kiddos. And four content areas that we focus on, one of them is interpersonal effectiveness, there's intrapersonal effectiveness, post-secondary planning, and personal health and safety. And responsible decision making can really fall under all of those things, right? And it's also a part of developing kiddos, students, their executive functioning skills, which it's a set of mental processes that helps kiddos to plan, focus, and carry out tasks. And even as grown-ups, those are things that we're kind of still developing and trying to hone, right? When we do this in our guidance lessons, these focus on the responsible decision makings. We do it a lot in our child protection unit where we talk about ways to keep ourselves safe by recognizing, hey, is this a safe situation? By refusing when people want us to do things that might be unsafe, or sometimes we're having to refuse ourselves. And also that reporting situation. But we also work a lot in small groups and in individual counseling on that responsible decision making, because ultimately we want our kiddos to be good decision makers, right? And sometimes that small group instruction really helps with that. I'm thinking about, I have a couple of small groups running right now on self-control and impulse control. And we talk about self-control is controlling your body and thinking ahead before you do something or say something. And sometimes we think this is just something that kids should know automatically. But for some of our kiddos, it really is an explicit skill that has to be taught. So, in my small group lessons, we are talking about voice level. When is a whisper appropriate? When is a crowd voice appropriate? When is yelling appropriate? And we also talk about, when you should say something. And so the responsible decision making of when you could say something is we've been talking about, is there somebody else talking? If there's somebody else talking, that means I have to keep that thought. The other part of that is it a time that I can talk? Do I have to be quiet or I can talk? And then the other part of that is it kind or is it rude? And so those are kind of three guiding questions that I'm working with kiddos in small group on to develop the understanding of, hey, should I say this thing? And those are things too, families, that y'all can practice at home too. Either when an interruption happens, that you can, pause right then and kind of say, hey, somebody else is talking. Is this the time for you to talk? And then talk about what can you do with that thought. Maybe you just hold that thought. Maybe you write that thought down. Maybe you say to yourself, I can say this later. But responsible decision making, doing the kind of think alouds and sharing with your kiddos how you determine and what process you use for making decision is something that you can help your kiddos with too.
Thank you, Amber. Those are some amazing, amazing points. And so, yeah, I love how you partner, because we are a partnership between home and school. And so we're all, as that song says, we're all in this together. Sorry, y'all had to hear my singing. Normally, I only torture the children with my terrible singing, but now y'all got a dose too. Sorry about that. But as we were moving forward, finishing this year strong with our responsible decision making and treating each other the right way. We did celebrate National School Counseling Week. So, and the reason we do that is not to pat ourselves on the back, but we really want to get out there all that we are doing. Because like, Amber's pointed out and Miss Moore and Miss Maya pointed out, we're wanting to highlight and make our kids, show how great our kids are. And you guys do have some amazing children. So our program just gets to partner with you and highlight that even more, showing how they're thriving through our partnerships together. So you can always find more information about anything we do, through us. Ask us. We're happy to share. The Texas School Counseling Association or the American School Counseling. We do, that has lots of information on our school websites about bullying, coping skills, trauma, parenting in the digital age. I know Miss Amber Olson just finished Love and Logic, which is a great program that our district offers for free, which is huge because people pay hundreds of dollars to get that information, and she gives away the knowledge for free thanks to our district, and she's great. You haven't been to her class? Highly recommend. It's fun. It's fun. So I guess we are going to move on to the anxious generation. Counselors, who wants to step up and get excited about this? Who's in? I'm gonna start Bueller. Beth looks like Beth wants to. I know you're all tired of hearing me
I'm
talk.
reading back over it.
uh, just a quick recap. We have been talking about that book, The Anxious Generation. I don't want to mess up his name. I think it's Jonathan Haidt. Does anyone know how to say it?
I think you were
Haidt?
right.
We're gonna go with that. It sounds
Go
great.
with that. And Jonathan, if you ever hear us, we are sorry. We are not trying to mess this up. But it's a book that's been rising in popularity. It's got, I know we talked before about some of its criticisms that it's gotten as well as some of its accolades. But Jonathan Haidt is an American psychologist and an author. And it's basically talking about the rewiring of childhood because of how much kids are on screens with a lot of screen time and the changes in the brain that it's been doing. And so a lot of things have been happened from phone-based experiences and smartphones and social media and increases in lots of things like anxiety, depression. So I think we covered that earlier. So we were just going to kind of move on to parts 3 and 4, which is the great rewiring and kind of some of the effects that you might see. And then, of course, what we can do for healthier childhoods.
So Laura, I think that in this part, something that was really alarming to me and was new learning that social media has such a bigger impact on girls, and really the emotional harm for girls um, is more prominent just because of how susceptible girls are to the visual social comparisons. Not that necessarily that boys are in the clear. It does really emotionally affect girlies when it comes to anxiety and depression. The effect on boys is more social in terms of social isolation, and reduced real world experiences. And it kind of takes away their opportunity to build resilience with some other social experiences. And so that was really alarming to me.
And I think I
Oh,
think
sorry, go
we've
ahead,
all
Jasmine.
seen, oh, you're fine. I think that we've all seen the effects of school counselors of the social deprivation that's happened. So, we're talking about having these small groups, to help on responsible decision making and impulsivity. And some of that is just directly related to the kids that we are teaching in our schools right now. We're seeing, a high level of inability to focus on task, lots of trouble with executive functioning, stuff like self-control and, planning ahead, things of that nature. A lot of our kids are reporting to us now. Parents, I hope you know your kids come to school and tell all their business about how late they're up on their gaming systems and how many hours they have on this. And I'm not saying this to blame you, we understand, but we're just seeing that the kids are having these prolonged times using technology, but there's no balance, So also that, like if you want to play your iPad for a couple hours, trust me, Miss Moore has no judgment on that. But are you also outside playing catch or are you in an organized sport? What's the balance to that? You know what I mean? So we're definitely recognizing that the population of students that we're seeing are coming through our schools are a little bit different. And so we kind of owe that to the access to technology at a young age and just the amount of time spent on technology as well.
Mm-hmm. So now that we've talked about some of the maybe negative effects, it also mentions some steps that we can take as a community and really highlight the quote, it takes a village, that kind of mentality that has been passed on. And so by doing so, we're helping combat some of these major issues. Schools have taken a major step in banning phones, but even that's not foolproof and often not even enforced, right? And sometimes they want to know the why. Why can't I bring, my device? Because at this point, we're here to focus on getting our work done, or we're here to focus on, maybe we practice again, we take out every opportunity to practice those social skills. And when you're directly in front of a device, it's really just feeding it to you, right? So we want to be able to be in the moment. The book proposed some government interventions, so I think that's important to look at and research as you're voting in local and state elections. For parents, it suggests more play and less screen time, more community interaction, and of course modeling it, right? And as a parent, I mean, I have to admit to that as well. When my young one day said, "Mom, I'm talking to you, are you listening?" Because I was either messaging with a family member or not. And so I have to also be conscious of that she's watching that, and I have to be vigilant, put the phone down, and make sure that I'm making that eye contact and giving her my full attention, right? And so it does require effort on our end as well. Again, having another suggestion would be having a phone-free dinner. I know that's a big deal in our family when we're sitting down, devices are away, because that is our time to just kind of catch up on the day because we're busy. I mean, we are go, go, go every day. Taking a walk together outside is a great idea, and really having honest conversations to build trust and support systems within the home. Who are you talking to? Who's in your chat room? What's the latest, what's the new game you're playing? And really, I look at it as not we're asking questions, but if you propose something, put something out there, be willing to listen, right? I have to sometimes also catch myself because I tend to ask a lot of questions, and I have to remind myself, this is a time for me to listen, because if I come at them with 10 questions and they're not going to respond well to that. So I really have to make it more of a conversational piece. So what's new? How's it going? But again, I think that we have to always be aware of who they're talking to, who they're messaging with. And again, we're the parent, and you have those restrictions. I recently had to do that with, my middle schoolers. I can cut his technology off at a certain time, right? His Wi-Fi. Not because he was overusing it, because I just think that's a smart decision, something that I need to be vigilant of. But again, there's always the negative and there's the positive things that we can do. But I think, like Laura said, it's more of a self-awareness, just hoping that this resource can help you as a family.
Well, and
And
somebody said it takes a village. And I think, the question that we have to ask ourselves really is, what village do we want raising our kids? Do we want it to be a village of other children and potentially even strangers that are interacting with them on social media and online gaming platforms? Or do we want it to be people that we know and people that we trust and people that we know are really going to nurture our kids? So it does take a village, and hopefully we're choosing the right village to help support and uplift our kiddos.
And if any of you guys are struggling with trying to figure out like what's the balance, what's too much, is this affecting my kid? That's always a conversation we're willing to have with you as school counselors. We see different. We celebrate and work with the whole child, so we're here to help you figure that out. I strongly believe there is it can be a happy balance. We are in the 21st century. Technology is our way of life. We're communicating with you now with technology, but there's always certain things, certain balances, age, there's a lot of things to look at when we're thinking about technology and how it could be used and what's safe and unsafe for kids. So if you guys are just struggling with that or have questions with that, we read books just like the ancient generation to get more answers so we can figure out how to help our students, but also to help you guys. So contact your child's school counselor and we'll be happy to walk with you as you're trying to figure out what's best for your kid.
And here's just a little funny aside. I don't know what was said earlier, what made me think about chatting and, you don't really know who's on the other side of the screen. And I was thinking about our, child protection, our safety units and how to stay safe. And it reminded me there's a country song called Online by Brad Paisley. And so while they were talking, I looked it up. Y'all, this song is from 2007. And it's all about how he's, lives in his mom's and dad's, and he's 5'3" and overweight. But then he gets on his, they call it MySpace, if any of y'all are old enough to know MySpace. But then he says, I'm out in Hollywood. I look good. I have a black belt in karate and drive a mother. Something. And y'all, this song is almost 20 years old, but how relevant is it still today? You know what I mean? Like, and it was so funny back then, and it still is funny. Every time I hear it, I'm like, I love that song. But it really is still relevant today. You never know who's on the other side of those screens. So they could be living in their parents' 5'3", or they could be 6'5", driving a Maserati. If you haven't heard that song, it's great. Check it out.
I haven't heard it.
You haven't? Oh my gosh, it's hilarious.
No. Before we wrap up, I do want to do a plug for Morningside's Careers on Wheels coming up. You've gotten a couple emails from me, but we have pretty low um, volunteerism with Careers on Wheels. So I wanted to encourage you guys just to check out my email, think about how you can help, whether that be you're a real estate agent and you have your signage on the side of your car. That's a vehicle. That's a career that my kids would love to hear about. So I'm here to make a great opportunity for our kids. They love the fire truck and the ambulance and all that, but we also like to hear about everyday jobs as well. So don't feel discouraged or think that your job isn't enough to be presented. We want to hear about all types of jobs. That's how our kids learn. So yeah, think about that. Check out my emails and my posts and newsletter. I have all the information out there. Career Day is on April 1st, but I would love for everybody to be signed up by March 11th so I can get all the planning put away. So I appreciate you guys reaching out to me and helping me out so we can make that a great opportunity for our kids.
All right. Well, thank y'all for listening. We appreciate. We hope you got some good information. As we mentioned earlier, we are your partner. So if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to your child's counselor. We are here for you as much as we are for your students. So thank y'all for listening, and we hope you have a fantastic day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.